decided, I guess I made a decision to follow into art. My mother wanted me to be a mechanic, and I couldn't stand grease under my fingers. So I didn't intend to be an artist. I knew that there wasn't a big money-making jobs for artists. I did like to draw shoes a lot, so I thought about going into designing clothes and shoes, but wasn't really impressed with the industry. So the only one to graduate from high school of our family. Everybody else had to go to work, and I started college, but really didn't like it. I wasn't much into school, and so I took art and arts and crafts all the way through high school and excelled pretty good at it, and just as a hobby and stuff. So when I got out of high school, I went to work for a company called NASCO West in Modesto, and they sold art supplies and stuff. One day I was standing outside in the morning. We had just come into work. It was time to clock in, and I saw somebody getting out of a Volkswagen. Pretty girl. I didn't date much. I wasn't much of a dater. I was into sports a lot. I loved basketball and football and baseball, and played a lot of sports. And I worked all the way through high school. I was a bag boy at Houston Food Center, and I worked pretty hard there, and had to be to work every day at 3:30 after school, and I was a closer. I bagged groceries and stocked and swept the store and closed the store, and I'd get off work about 10:30 and go home and have to get back up at 6 or 7 to go to school. But anyway, all the way through high school, I worked at the Houston Food Center 3.5 years, and then when I graduated, I applied for a job at NASCO West, but I just told you, and it was a neat job. I got promoted right away, and I excelled at whatever I did. And this girl started working there, and she worked in the mailroom, and which I had just been promoted to the section right next to the mailroom, so her office door opened up into my section, and one thing led to another, and I fell in love with her and asked her out, and at first she said no. She was going through a rough relationship, and so I persisted. I kept asking, and one day she said yes. We went out to a movie called Endless Love with Brooke Shields, and we started dating. And long story short, we got married a few months later, and I've been married ever since. 37 years so far. She's a wonderful person, and I've been very happy. And we moved to Las Vegas and had a child, and moved back to California. And we worked a lot of jobs. I've had about 55, 56 jobs, and we counted the other day. I've had 60 cars of all different makes and models of Volkswagens and Chevys and Fords and Audis and Buicks and everything in between. But we worked at Foster Farms for 5 years, and while in Las Vegas, though, I learned how to airbrush, which is what I always wanted to do, and that became my second income throughout. I started doing T-shirts at Wonder World in Las Vegas, and from there I did a lot of T-shirts for many years, and then we moved to Arkansas, and I opened up a little shop at the mall in Arkansas, and did very well at it. And then we didn't like Arkansas, so we moved to Corpus Christi, which was right on the beach. And it's a long story, but I ended up learning how to airbrush on canvases, which paid a lot more money than the t-shirts. So I started doing sports figures and getting them autographed, and for the first time in my life I was actually doing it for a living. I made a good living at it. I was selling canvases for $2,000-3,000 a piece. Couldn't paint fast enough. They were selling as fast as I could paint them. I was on TV, I was on ESPN, I was the featured artist at the ballpark at Arlington. When it first opened up, they commissioned me to do a lithograph with the Texas Rangers. And they had a couple of the players, the big players, sign them, Ivan Rodriguez and Juan Gonzalez. And my career took off. I was happy, very happy doing it. And used to do shows in Houston and Austin and Dallas, and I went to Puerto Rico and did a celebrity golf tournament over there. Had a lot of fun, and but I didn't like the culture of that surrounded all of the hype and fame and fortune and all that. I didn't like the parties, and I'm not a big partier, so it began to cause problems at home, and I made the choice to keep my family, my wife, instead of fortune and fame. I was offered a position at the ballpark to stay there permanently, and that would mean that I have to move up there, and the wife didn't really like to be in the spotlight. So I made the decision to stay with my wife and my kids, and no regrets. I love it. We decided to move back to California. My parents were getting older, and my mother, my dad were getting up in their years, and so we moved back and got a full-time job again, and I still paint, and I'm very, very lucky to have made a living and to have learned all that I've learned. And I'm a truck driver now, full-time, and I still paint on the side and still have a lot of requests, and I just have been very lucky to have everything I've ever wanted. I've never really lacked anything, and I appreciate that I was brought to this country and as an immigrant. My children are first generation immigrants, or they're not immigrants, they're first generation born here. I'm lucky I speak 2 fluent languages. Owned a lot of houses and a lot of cars, and my kids have grown and moved away, and just me and the wife now, and we get to do a lot of fun things. A lot of miracles along the way. There's been a lot of ups and downs. I've had a lot of surgeries and had a lot of injuries from sports and from jobs, and not a lot more to say except I'm very happy. I'm 57. I just turned 57 2 days ago. And that's about my story. And there'll be some pictures with it. That's it for now.